phase of construction on a South Omaha project now underway.
The Omaha Housing Authority wants to transform one of the city's last public housing complexes into something new. 6 News' Johan Marin has a look at the progress.
There's a lot of work happening here at Southside Terrace Garden Apartments. It's owned by Omaha's Housing Authority, and construction is underway to transform the 360-unit complex into mixed-income housing.
There was a lot of memories created, a lot of friendships, family. So it was heartbreaking. It's sad to see them go.
Ashley Marie has watched crews work since they started tearing down on Tuesday. She used to live here with her family.
It's been some years since I've actually lived in here, but I've always came back.
The development is in its first of 5 phases. 2 buildings are being torn down and will be replaced with a new 4-floor, 92-unit apartment. The mixed-income housing will include 1 to 5 bedroom apartments. In a statement to 6 News, Omaha Housing Authority says, quote, "The redeveloped Southside Terrace property will include a variety of housing types, mostly multifamily apartment buildings, elevator and walk-up, and townhomes with some single-family homes." Judy Zubia lives across the street. She says she's excited about the changes.
It's a good improvement, like, for everybody in OHA, like, that lives here in the neighborhood, like, because they're gonna have better resources for everybody.
OHA officials expect the full project to be done in about 5 to 6 years. While changes are on the way, Marie has mixed feelings about it.
I don't like it because it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be home. But I can see why they're doing it.
On your side, I'm Johan Marin, 6 News.
OHA tells 6 News residents who are displaced because of the redevelopments are in temporary housing. Once the first phase is complete, 68 of the new apartment's 92 units will be offered to current households displaced by construction. The remaining will be market rate units.